Yay.
Hmm.
Yay.
We got it to work.
Louis, Louis found a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
It's like Jurassic Park, right? Nature finds a way.
We're
So,
selling it. We're selling it. We're selling it. We're selling
yeah.
it.
So after a very long hiatus, Louis graciously is coming on here with me to talk about Wonder Man, which actually got renewed for a second season, which that was a huge surprise to me because I felt like it kind of sent this series to die. They released all 8 episodes, I think like 2 months ago. I think this
Hmm.
was in January when it released. Um, but yeah, a very pleasant surprise. Uh, Daniel Destin Cretton and Andrew Guest are coming back, as well as Yahya Abdul Mateen II and Trevor Slattery,
Hmm.
played by Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
um, and incredible news. How are you feeling about that? And what are your thoughts on the first season?
So I thought it was kind of funny that we were talking about doing this review, and literally like maybe 3 days after we agreed, then they renewed the second season. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought this would be one of those shows they'd write off, kind of like Miss Marvel or Moon
Yes.
Knight or She Hulk, where it's like, all right, well, we had this thing in the barrel, so we're just gonna shoot it and just forget about it and just move
Right.
on with the Doom era of things. But no, it was a pretty solid show. I think it was really really good in terms of kind of giving a good perspective without having to be focused on just Marvel things of Hollywood and like kind of LA style things.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
gave me a very Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibe.
That's a very good point.
Hmm.
Is very much a love letter to LA. It's crazy because there's a couple of filming locations that I saw in there that I said, "Hey, I know where that is," and I said, "Wow, they really did film this in LA." So, um, if you guys haven't watched this show yet, you need to watch this show. I mean, it's cool because apparently people showed up to watch the show because they renewed it for a second season.
Right.
Apparently, the numbers have been amazing for it. Um, it's I think it's a very great show in the fact that I feel like it returns back to kind of the Marvel basics, that it's very much centered on character
Mhm.
more than just superhero powers. I mean, the superhero powers is what makes it Marvel, but this was a very human show, and it kind of I was kind of taken aback by that. I remember watching the trailers and I'm like, I don't know what this show is about, but I actually really want to watch this show. And then I
Mhm.
watched the show and I was blown away. I thought, okay, I'll just watch like a couple of episodes and then I'll chill out and then watch some more. And I had to stop myself at 4 because I said,
Mhm.
if I don't stop myself at 4 episodes, I'm gonna stay up all night watching this and finish the whole series. So um and just phenomenal acting too. Like
Yeah.
the chemistry between Ben Kingsley and Yaya is just so good. It's so natural, and you believe the friendship they develop. I mean, I had a moment when I sat there and I thought about it. I said, I feel like maybe we took Ben Kingsley for granted being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as
Mhm.
the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 because I sat back and thought about it. I said, this is Oscar winning actor Ben Kingsley who's
Mhm.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
That's kind of freaking awesome. So, um, and it even, I mean, the whole thing, like Trevor Slattery has been kind of he's been kind of a little bit of a joke, right? So
Mhm.
I like the fact that they brought him back for Shang-Chi. I thought that was hilarious that they brought him back and they tied it all together.
Mhm.
But then in this show, I felt like they did a fantastic job developing his character and making you really sympathize with him, Like it seems like, before he was kind of a bit of a jester, but once you watch the show and you start to see um, all the emotional, underpinnings of it with him, that he was pretty desperate at that time when he got hired on to play the Mandarin, and that's what led to all this, and him being arrested and everything. So
Mhm.
um I was very impressed with how it was very much more of a character study, and I feel that's what Marvel has been lacking a little bit. I love Thunderbolts. You and I talked for like
Oh
probably
yeah.
like 2 hours or something on Thunderbolts, probably as long as the movie, but
Yeah.
Thunderbolts was another one, right? That's very much a character study.
Right.
It doesn't end with the climactic battle. It's the conflict and the emotional turmoil inside Bob's head. So unfortunately, that one did not do well so much in the box office, but I'm very happy that Wonder Man has done well and it's getting a second season. And I don't know what they're going to do for a second season, but I'm not complaining and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Trevor Slattery and Simon Williams in second season.
Yeah, I thought that was the kind of the funniest thing about it. It's like, Iron Man 3 is kind of the more like disregarded of the original MCU movies. Nobody's a
Yeah.
big fan of that whole Mandarin twist. Everybody loved Thunderbolts, but that movie underperformed somehow. And here we are with Wonder Man being the third time Ben Kingsley shows up, and it's like, dude, this like side character that nobody wanted is all of a sudden like popping up everywhere. you know,
Yeah, it's true.
but it's
It's
like,
very true.
I think in this show, I think it's probably the best use of him. I think because he is ultimately just a regular dude,
Yeah.
Um, and I think this show kind of does a little bit more in terms of like being more real with its characters.
Hmm.
There's some fantastical elements in the show, but it doesn't try to dwell on them too much. Ultimately, it's a show of a dude just trying to get a Hollywood gig. Um, in kind of the process of how that works, but then you kind of learn that it's not easy when you have superpowers and trying to hide them and kind of trying to limit your personality to
Hmm.
kind of like favor what other people want expect of you to be, you know um for a lot of the show, it's Wonder Man kind of just kind of beating himself up a lot of the time. He's just
Yeah.
very like, this sucks. I really want to roll. I really want to start performing in Hollywood. I really want to start doing what I can um, to improve myself and to get a role that my dad took me to.
Hmm.
And for him to kind of like just really like dig deep and be like, what, I'm kind of an asshole. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the same time, Ben Kingsley also kind of relates to that, being a terrorist and
Hmm.
all. So it's like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
two really like people that shouldn't have anything in common somehow do, and they just try to do the best they can with their situation to get back out there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree with you on that mystical element. I feel like the show was very grounded,
Hmm.
considering even though it's a superhero show, like it's kind of nutty because it's kind of like with Echo. Like
Hmm.
I I enjoyed Echo to a certain extent, but I felt like that was a show that they should have kept grounded. Like there should not have been any sort of mystical element in there. I think a lot of the other parts of it, especially with like the Native American culture and also with her being deaf and I
Hmm.
mean even her being disabled, right? Because she's missing a leg. So it's
Right.
like there were so many interesting things to explore, but instead they said, "Yeah, she's got mystical powers." And I said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't read the comment, but I just got the feeling that she's kind of awesome because she has these really great abilities even though she's disabled. Like that's the impression that I got. So the fact that this is Simon Williams is clearly, he's clearly a superhero well not superhero, a super powered individual,
Mhm.
and then they bring in the DODC into that, right? The Department of Damage Control. That's the cool. Oh, this is we're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it, like what you said, it's still very much grounded. That's why I liked Hawkeye a lot too.
Yeah,
Hawkeye was
Hawkeye was
very
good.
grounded.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people kind of dismiss Hawkeye. I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those people that I like. It's funny. All the girls were like, "Oh," I mean, probably guys too were like, "Oh, I like Captain America. I like
Mhm.
Thor." And I said, "Oh, I actually like Hawkeye." And everybody turned and looked at me in my friend group, and they're like, "You like Hawkeye?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have a crush on Hawkeye. He's cool. He's the archer. I think that's kind of dope." you know.
Yeah,
So.
and I think, the amazing thing that I liked a lot about this show is it's, when you see this superhero show, it's like, oh man, like he's gonna like, suit up and fight like a crowd of dudes or something at some point. No, like not for the most part, the action is very simple.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of one of those cool kind of world building things, especially where we're
Yeah.
kind of going into the mutant saga, where it's
Uh-huh.
like people have superpowers, but they're just trying to live normal lives. It's like it's kind of like superpowers are becoming like a mundane thing, where it's like,
Yeah.
um, Simon has his powers, but he's never like, oh, I'm gonna go fight crime or I'm gonna go and commit crimes. It's just no.
Mhm.
I just I want to control my powers, but ultimately I just want to be an actor, or I just want to go hang out with friends or go to my mom's birthday.
Yeah.
It's never like, again, this crazy like, oh, we need to go storm the castle. We need to go,
Mhm.
invade this other planet, or it's just it's just cool that they managed to do so much with just two characters, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's and it's actually a very beautiful thing, right? Because when Simon's, whenever he gets stressed out or upset, that's when his power comes out, right? So he
Mm,
can't, at the beginning of the series and throughout a lot of the series, he can't control his power. But once Trevor comes into the picture and becomes his friend, like genuinely his friend, he
mm,
says, "Oh, you have to do the box breathing.
mm,
Let me teach you." And then Simon and Trevor develop this really beautiful friendship of how they have a mutual understanding of each other, and they're not judgmental of one another. I mean, like Trevor Slattery, everybody just brings up. They're like, I mean, that was the running joke, but I mean, that's a pretty bad thing to follow you, right? They're like,
mm.
oh, why does that guy look familiar? I'm pretty sure he used to be a terrorist, right?
Right,
Funny
right.
joke, but it's like, oh, when you're trying to be an actor, it's you're kind of branded with that. And then with Simon, he's trying to hide his superpowers because of the doorman
Mm,
clause. So why don't I lead into that now? That was interesting how that that doorman episode was right smack dab in the middle.
mhm,
Now, my one of my hangups about Marvel sometimes, just with the shows, that they do this thing where they're like, okay, hold the presses. Now we're gonna do a flashback episode, and you're
right.
like, oh, dude, for real? But I was pleasantly surprised that jump back, and it's not necessarily like a flashback episode. I think it's more of like an explanation, right? Because Simon's like, "Oh yeah, the doorman clause," and then Trevor's like, "What are you talking about?" Because Trevor's been, I mean, he's been at Talo. Who knows where he's been, right? So he hasn't heard about the news with Josh Gad and everything. So
Right.
he's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" So I thought that was a very clever and well done way to move to explain the history of that. And again, like what you said, it's the world building, and that also that episode was all filmed in black and white, which I thought was a really great choice to make for filming that. Um, and again, I mean, it comes back to that whole thing where you were talking about, you know, people having these superpowers, and they're not off to storm the castle.
Mhm,
Like doorman just wanted to. He's like, hey, I'm just a doorman, right?
right.
But then he acquired these powers, and then he's only brought to the forefront because he uses those powers for good to save Josh Gad and all the other people in the club
Mhm,
from burning in that fire, from dying in that fire. So, and it's sad. It's such a tragic story because you don't ever really find out what happens to Doorman after that whole thing with Josh Gad. And that's the other thing too. I really thought when I heard the little bits and pieces coming through about this series that he said Josh Gad's gonna be it. I said, really, Olaf? Like, what? What's what are you guys doing? But they really utilized Josh Gad
Oh yeah,
well,
absolutely.
right? You know, and and some people are saying, "Where's Josh Gad?" And I said, "I feel like nobody else would be asking this, like, but the way that he's portrayed in the series, and they don't, there's really funny moments, right, when he's like doing the club mix of In Summer from Frozen, but it doesn't. The humor's so good to the point where it doesn't. It's like kind of like satirizing it versus just making fun of things and being extremely silly, and you're just like, hey man, that's an old joke, like that joke's not going to work. So um I really did enjoy that episode. I was shocked, like, I when I saw the placement of it, and when I went into that, I was like, oh man, for real, we're going to do this. But then I was pleasantly surprised that, oh, this actually moves the plot forward. It's
Mm,
actually not holding it back. Now you're like, oh, there's like some serious consequences to what happened. So that's why this doorman clause was created. And
right.
that's and the whole, and then it ties back to, right, they say it's so funny because Mario Lopez is reporting on it, right? That's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
thing. When I heard Mario Lopez was gonna be in it, I said, "Really?" And they utilized all these actors so well to, like what you said with the world building and
Mhm,
everything. And Mario Lopez explains on that entertainment show, "Oh yeah, the insurance is gonna be astronomical due to the risk. So
mhm.
nobody's gonna want to have an actor with superpowers." And I was like, "Oh crap." I said, "That's actually a really good point." So again, world building and done very well. So um
Yeah, and it kind of gave me a bit of a vibe of The Boys, where it's kind of like,
mm,
it's trying to be again grounded in some kind of realism to some extent, where it's like,
yeah,
if something like that happened, like on a movie set, yeah, they probably would start banning superpowers on set or people that can't control their powers.
yeah,
Things would become a little bit more liable in that way. And yeah, of course, people who like Simon is afraid to reveal who and what he is.
hmm,
That whole episode though definitely threw me off. I'll be honest, because
yeah,
I was working on a cosplay and then I look up and it's just black and white. I'm like, oh okay, it's a flashback episode or something.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they're setting up the villain for the show. That's what I thought originally. And
yeah,
then yeah, no, it just kept going and going and going. I'm like, okay, they're clearly setting this up for something.
hmm,
And then it's kind of that cool thing where you have this expectation of what a Marvel show is going to be or movie is going to be, and then it's ultimately just like, nope, this is just letting you know why Simon is so paranoid about
yeah,
revealing who he
yeah,
is. um like, yeah, ultimately, could you have called it a filler episode? Yes, but at the same time I feel like it was such a good filler episode that it was
yeah, I
like,
agree.
it was like, oh crap, I just learned about this new character, which funny enough is in the comics, but just kind of like in the show, he's nobody really cares about him too much. Nobody really cares about
Hmm.
his team of like just misfit superheroes whose powers kind of suck. um, in the comics, he's actually teamed up with Squirrel Girl and a bunch of other characters.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Oh, right
I,
on.
I f- have to look up their team name, but yeah, it's just one of those funny things where it's like these characters that just have really like weird powers, and it's just, yeah, hey, we'll put him in a movie, and what's his ability? He would just go through them. That's it. And that's all he
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
um, but that definitely gave it a good spotlight because I think while watching not only Doorman's life story but also Simon's, it's like I don't know. I guess being born and raised in California, it just kind of
hmm,
felt very home to me. If that made any
yeah,
sense, like you said with
same.
like when you said with the Mario Lopez thing, anytime I go to Universal Studios, they're always filming what Hollywood Tonight or whatever it's called, and
Yeah,
he's the
hmm,
host of it, so you'll just see him walking around like the entrance of Universal Studios with the film crew. So it's just like
hmm,
yeah, this feels like totally LA. Like this is absolutely what,
Yeah.
Hollywood Tonight or Entertainment Tonight would report on,
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it was just that really cool groundedness of the show, and also just kind of makes me curious to see what they do next for the second season.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only that, but the director of I believe it was the director of Wonder Man that's doing the next Spider-Man movie. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
so
Yep. I'm so hyped. Like so it's funny because so he did Shang-Chi, and then I was looking at him during interviews and I said, I think he's Japanese American. And then I said, oh crap, he is. I said he's born in Hawaii. And I said, oh my God, he's like part Japanese descent. That's freaking dope. I'm Japanese
right,
American. So that's
nice.
why I'm like, yeah, go team. And then and then and then what happened was, I guess the rumor is that he was originally supposed to do Avengers King Dynasty, and obviously
Hmm.
that went out the door once Jonathan Majors was hit with those lawsuits.
Right.
And um, so what happened was, the rumor is, I don't know if it's true, don't quote me on it, but apparently Marvel was like, hey, so sorry about that. So since you're not doing an Avengers movie, you can pick what you want to do next. And he said Spider-Man. And I'm like, hell yeah. So
I
when
mean,
when I saw that brand new J trailer, I was like, oh my God,
if you're gonna
I'm
pick
so
something,
ready for this.
no,
I
yeah,
mean,
that trailer looks really
smart.
good. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, smart move on his part,
Oh yeah.
because talk about getting a great project and so much visibility with that. And then I'm sure with Wonder Man, plus like the Spider-Man stuff, they're like, this is looking pretty good. We should probably give this guy a second season. And so and so since we're like going, well, we don't know what's going to happen in the second season. Let's just go ahead and talk about the ending of the series. It was very interesting because sometimes, again, sometimes things get prolonged, and it's kind of like when I watched, I think it was The Dark Knight.
Mhm.
That's the one with the Joker, right? I
Yeah.
watched that for the first time, and that movie wouldn't end. Not that that was a bad thing, but that movie wouldn't end, right?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on? And then the Joker blows up the hospital, and I go, what the hell is going on? This movie's still going. And I'm like, how many more minutes do I have with this movie to go? So after, the Wonder Man premiere, and everybody's happy for Simon, and his and Janelle, his agent is like, hey, like, you what are you gonna do next? Like, you've got your pick of anything.
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay, is this where it ends? But then he ends up in the sleepy town with this guy, and you're
Mhm.
like, what the heck is
Mhm.
going on with this? And he's like, well, I'm researching for a role,
Mhm.
but we got to keep it on the down low. So it's funny because once I found out that guy was a security guard, I go, oh, dude, he's gonna go break out Trevor. And then that reveal when they're in the vehicle, they're in the Jeep or whatever, and it kind of goes over the hill, and you see the security center that the DODC that they were championing to fill it. I go, oh my God, he's totally gonna go get Trevor. And even just the whole thing when he goes in, so and he goes, and they're reunited, like, it's like I had a very girl moment where I was like, oh, like, because Trevor's like, what are you doing here? I I got you in the clear. And then he says, oh, they're gonna catch you. And Simon's like, oh yeah, there's all these guards, there's biometric screenings, all kinds of stuff. And Trevor's like, yeah, exactly. Like, how are we gonna get out of here? And then that is like, it's kind of cool, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like they save the superhero powered moment till the very end of the show, and the payoff is so great, right? They just take off together in the sunset like
Right.
two cowboys. And I was, I was grinning from ear to ear like an idiot when I saw that. It made me just incredibly happy that Simon went back to go get Trevor, and I was like, oh my God. And wow, what's gonna happen now? And then I also liked how the fact that that one guy that we've seen in almost like not almost all the movies, but like in a ton of like movies and TV shows under Marvel, that the DODC guy's like, well, Simon Williams, because of those ionic powers, he's either an extreme threat or a valuable asset.
Mhm,
So I
mhm,
said, oh, so are they gonna try and be like, hey guy, like you gonna be a superhero and like save the world? Or like, I don't know if they're gonna villainize him. I could see something very quickly happen in season two where Simon's like, okay, cool. Well, you want to use my superhero powers, you gotta like let Trevor off the hook.
mhm.
Like you gotta free him from all charges, but then sure, I'll do the superhero thing so that my friend can be free. So it could be like switch that Simon's the one that's kind of like imprisoned versus Trevor being. So um that's probably the only theory I have. And it's not even much of a theory because they just greenlit it. So I'm sure they maybe have a semblance of an idea. It's like
Mhm.
what Rocket said in Guardians. He's like, that's not even a semblance of a plan.
Right.
Um so I don't know, like like what you said. I don't know what they're gonna do for season two, but I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen with that. So
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on the ending of the series? Did you like it?
I mean, the ending I thought was definitely, I don't know. I was kind of hoping the ending would be open ended, just because, like, I feel like maybe they thought it was gonna end, and there wasn't gonna be a season two. So I feel like that's kind of
Uh-huh.
why they the ending was just like, all right, we'll just save Travis and then figure it out, or Trevor, and then figure it out later.
Uh-huh.
But I think because it got a season two now, it makes it a little bit more like, dang, I kind of wish season two was part of let's try to get him out.
Oh
Um,
yeah, right, right.
but I think, kind of like you mentioned, because it was supposed to be Kang Dynasty after, Wonder Man and all that stuff. I feel like now that they had to kind of like backtrack all that and change everything going forward.
Mhm.
Um, that's gonna make it a little bit more interesting and hard, because before, when we thought it was gonna be King Dynasty, it was gonna be like, all right, cool, it's gonna be the King Dynasty. Then the Thunderbolts are gonna fight King, and I don't even think Fantastic Four was greenlit yet. So it was gonna be
Oh
just
wow.
a bunch of
Okay.
other
Yeah.
Avenger teams fighting Kangs. And now with them kind of doing Doomsday, it's like, all right, is Wonder Man gonna show up in Doomsday or
Yeah,
Secret
right.
Wars? Is gonna show up?
Right, right.
Is something
Right.
from that gonna affect the second season of Wonder Man? Like, now
Yeah.
it has you thinking about that. As for the ending, though, I liked it. It was definitely a good switcheroo, where I was kind of like, why is this dude just hanging out in like a random like hillbillies like life?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm studying for a role. It's like, okay, what kind of role are you trying to do, my friend?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but I think it also kind of it did a lot of personality growth for Simon, because he finally got the
Mhm.
role he wanted, and it's like, all right, cool, I got it. Now what? You know,
Yeah.
it's I kind of think it made him realize, like, if you remember, in the first time he met Trevor, it was in that movie theater, and they were watching some movie about some like con buddy pals. So I feel like that
Yeah.
was kind of like an homage to that, where it's like, at the end,
Mhm.
they're gonna be con buddy pals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of going forward is kind of based on a rumor that they're saying.
Mhm.
And it's a big rumor, of course, where people are saying in the rumor verse that damage control will eventually kind of create this whole thing against mutants and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
superheroes. So they're thinking that's going to be leading to the Sentinels and all that.
Mhm.
So, because I think there's only so much you can do with damage control now, because each time they've shown how incompetent they are.
Yeah, it's true.
So I, I I feel like there has to be something where there has to be like some end game to that thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, they what was it, Miss Marvel, like they went against orders and try to like shoot a kid on live TV.
Yeah,
um
right.
then No Way Home, it was them against Spider-Man and
Mhm.
all that. And then Um, what Abomination breaks out all the time.
Right.
So
That's true. That's some She-Hulk. Yep.
yeah, so it's just there has to be some end game for damage control to be like, you know what, we suck. We need to be a lot more like
Yeah.
efficient with our job. So I feel like that's kind of where maybe season two will make it be a little bit more serious with how damage control takes things.
Mhm.
Um, because I just don't think they can backtrack the whole, oh well, I want to be in another movie kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
I just think that would kind of not ruin, but I think it would just take away from the character growth of this one. I feel like,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Right. Like Simon. So, it's interesting, right? Because like you can tell with Simon, like he has the talent to act, and then it was his father, right, that said,
mhm,
"Hey, this is something you should pursue." And I'm not telling you it. I just rewatched the series,
mhm,
so like the lines are fresh in my head, and it's so sweet. His dad's like, and I'm not saying that you're good, like how parents tell their kids that they're good at something.
mhm,
You have a talent, and I think Simon really chases that dream. And then the whole thing with becoming Wonder Man, he's like, oh, this is the movie that me and my dad saw. And this is, he told Trevor several times throughout the series, like, I gotta get this role. Like, this role is for me. And I agree with you on that it's like, it's kind of the pinnacle that, he does the movie.
mhm,
And then he goes, okay. And Janelle's like, well, what next? Like, and he's like, huh. And I also like the whole thing that it does hint towards that when he's asking Janelle, he's like, have you heard anything from Trevor? And she's like, look, like where they put him is in a place that people don't come out of. Like they don't come back from that. So um I thought, that it was such a beautiful moment when he goes to rescue Trevor, because he's like, yeah, it's like, this is my friend. I gotta go save my friend. And it's not just about him becoming an actor, because like what you said, he kind of fulfilled his dream, like, okay, I was Wonder Man, and then I guess maybe I'll be Wonder Man in real life, and do other stuff. But it's interesting because they like the way that the series ends, and they and Trevor and Simon take off into the sky, which I freaking love that shot. I think it's
mhm,
so great. And then but then it's funny because at the premiere, right, Von Kovacs says, oh, nobody would have the balls to do another film
mhm.
after this, right? He says, but if there's an idea, maybe we can circle back on that. Like Von Kovac's a very funny character, and the fact that he's like, yeah, I'm so full of intrigue and this and that. He's just an eccentric dude.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah.
an eccentric director, right? and and I just kind of love that I sat there, and when there was no knowledge of a season two coming, and I
Mhm.
figured there wasn't going to be no season two. I said, that's so funny. Like, it's like, well, we could do a sequel if there's a good enough idea.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I think it would be hilarious if they do go back to that Hollywood element, and Fon Kovac is like, DODC damned, be damned. I want my Wonder Man because I got to do a sequel because I've been, I've been struck by lightning and I have this genius idea. And they're like, that like Simon Williams and Trevor Slattery are like fugitives on the run, right? He's like,
Mhm.
I don't care. like let's maybe he might be like, oh, let's go film in another foreign country or something so that they have sanctuary there so we can film this film. They could do some really crazy stuff with it, or they could continue this trajectory that Simon Williams, instead of him going along with the acting, that he's assuming the role of being the superhero, and he's
Mhm.
assuming a different kind of responsibility. And that, like what you said, that character growth is him moving beyond being selfish and closed off, that he's gaining sympathy and empathy for other people, and then he's going to be the superhero that goes to, like, not necessarily save the world, but like help the world, because I
Yeah.
don't I don't see Simon being one of those, like, I'm gonna be an Avenger. He's like, I
Right.
don't want that. Like, who wants to do that? Um, and it would be really funny to see him though interact with the Thunderbolts. I think that would be really funny because they'd be like, oh yeah, he'd be like, what, you guys are the new Avengers? And And Yoletta will be like, I didn't ask her this. Like this just kind of happened. Like we just kind of fell into it. So
Right. Yeah,
um
and I mean, that's kind of the other interesting part of it is like we didn't really ever get to see where Simon got his powers from.
yeah,
We just
yeah,
all we get is a flashback that there was an explosion at the house and somehow he's alive and his dad isn't.
yeah,
Um, which is a bummer because all the scenes that have his dad in it, it's very sweet, very wholesome, very like oh, that's like ultimate like dad I want to have.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it was a bummer, but I feel like there was a lot kind of trickled in to the show too. Like
Mhm.
why was nobody surprised that that he made it out without any burns or scars or anything?
Yeah,
You
right,
know,
right.
like
It's like you're not gonna question this more. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was kind of funny.
yeah, and then like
Okay.
his brother is like there was that scene where he like kind of implodes at his mom's house and just everyone's
Yeah,
cool about it and everyone like obviously they're like oh man our desk is gone but it's never like oh shit like you have
yeah,
superpowers.
yeah. Right,
So
right.
it's just like I feel like there's more going on there that maybe season 2 will do because it's like there's I don't know there was a scene that always kind of like threw me off a little bit, and I thought they were gonna
Uh-huh.
eventually get into it. Was when he is in the doctor's office, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" And he looks up at his brother, and his brother answers for him. So I'm
Yeah,
like, is your brother in on it? Did your brother do something? Like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, but, it's kind of one of those weird curveballs because it's like I feel like if that was the case, he wouldn't be so hard on himself, and he wouldn't,
Hmm.
he wouldn't have all these explosive fits. So I don't know. I'm definitely interested to see where Simon goes as a character. Because yeah, like you mentioned, he definitely wouldn't be an Avengers like guy.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
even in the show, they're like, "Oh, dude, like Captain America's cool." He's like, "Oh, well, he
Yeah,
just throws
right.
a
That's right.
shield. Like
He
that's
just
it."
he's just some dude with a shield. I
Yeah.
thought that was really funny. Like I'm like, that's actually really funny. He's like, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
he's very whatever on it.
he definitely has that jaded vibe to it, and I
Yeah,
feel like it's kind of an interesting reflection of kind of how like the MCU is in today's like focus because back in like what 2007 or whatever everything was
mhm,
all like oh my god Iron Man is so amazing Captain America is so cool Thor is amazing where now we're kind of in this like questionable fatigue state where everyone's like,
yeah,
"Oh, dude, why do you like Captain America? He just throws shields." Or whoa, you thought Iron Man is cool. Iron Man is just he's dead now. It's like who cares? So it's just
yeah,
like we're kind of entering that interesting phase, kind of similar with Trevor.
yeah,
Trevor again. Everyone thought he was going to be intimidating. They saw the trailer for Iron Man 3, and then you saw Iron Man 3, and you're like, you know what? He's not that intimidating. He's actually kind of a joke. So now,
yeah.
reflecting
Right.
IRL, Trevor is again seen as a joke character. Like
Yeah.
no one
Mhm.
wants to take him seriously. No one wants to hire him. So it's just like, um, it's kind of cool how they parallel that into the show.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just it's crazy. This Trevor Slattery could have been this really throwaway character. I remember I screeched when I saw him in Shang-Chi. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Oh, this is the connection." And then even watching this show just made me laugh because he does the American accent, right? When it's like that explosion that happened in Hollywood, I did that, and I was like freaking dying. I was like, "Oh my god, Ben Kingsley is the goat, man! Like he's so good."
No, and
Um,
he did a great job, especially what Iron Man 3 came out like almost 10 years ago. So for him to kind of like
wow,
jump
that's
right back,
crazy.
yeah, for him to jump right
Yeah.
into that character and
Mhm.
you know voice and everything, it's just like whoa, like
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
clearly
No,
has an
phenomenal.
impact. Yeah. But yeah, no. What do you think would be the future of this show and or these characters?
You know, I it's so funny because I had a friend that was, they watched the show. I wouldn't shut up about it. I'm sure you saw on my Instagram stories all the time. I was just
Yep.
yelling about this show all the time on my personal account. And um one of my friends says, "I'm really curious to see what happens to the two of them." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's kind of it. Like this was kind of a one-shot deal." So,
Right.
um I was very surprised with that second season announcement, and I'm like, well, like, I think I think one of the things that I liked about, because I know a lot of people that don't like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm one of the few people that did enjoy that series, and I'm like, yeah, there's the fallout for the black man getting the shield, right?
Mhm.
Like I felt like the way Endgame ended, they're like, here's the shield. And then I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna be into a black Captain America. And that show really explored that.
Mhm.
So to me, I'm sitting there thinking, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this show, because I think it's going to take like kind of a tonal shift with it, because there's going to be fallout, right? Like there's definitely going to be fallout from Simon breaking out Trevor, unless like he hid his mom and his brother like away from like the DODC. Like the DODC are going to go after his family, like for sure,
Yeah.
right? Um and I think the funny element would be like what I said. I think that would be hilarious if they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do Wonder Man 2," and Simon's like, I'm a fugitive, right?" And Von Kovac's like, "Who cares? I'll get you immunity in like this foreign country, and we'll go film there." And so that could be like a little like side quest or something.
Right.
But it will be interesting to see if for second season that they really address that, because there is going to be a fallout from that. Like it ends like happy to me to a certain degree, but then when you sit there and you think about it, you're like, oh, but Simon, it's Simon may be a loner, but you know, no
Yeah.
man is an island, right? He has his mom and his brother, so like, what's going to happen with that? So um, maybe they're gonna explore that, and then I'm with you on possibly second season exploring where his powers came from.
Mhm.
And by the way, like let's talk about Doorman for a second.
Mhm.
I like let me put this disclaimer here. If you ever see any weird, mysterious goo, just don't touch it.
Yeah, no, that's valid. Very valid.
Like I sat there and I go, why'd you touch it? Like I understand this progresses the story, but like, why'd you touch it? I would never touch that. I wouldn't be like, oh, weird, like goo that looks weird and it looks like it's moving on its own. I would never touch that, man. So anyway.
So see,
Uh,
here's my thing with that. The reason why I was so confused is because it was in black and white. So I thought maybe it was like an in-universe show or in-universe movie of superheroes. You
oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like kind of like The Fly, like back in 1939, where it's like, oh, look at all these wonders, look at this crazy mad science, and that's
Hmm.
what I thought. Okay, maybe this is how the public thinks superheroes work. You know, but then
Interesting.
yeah, but then when you kind of see, oh no, that wasn't a fake story; it was actually a real story.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
so it's just like, um, it's if it makes you wonder if that's just the trash. Like, imagine what's not
Yeah,
the trash.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and there's already been a few nods to mutants and adamantium and all that stuff. So
Uh-huh.
it makes me,
Yeah.
kind of wonder, like, supposedly this is gonna be the first mutant reveal in Spider-Man. So it's gonna be interesting to kind of see this world get populated with different superheroes and different
Mhm.
kinds of powers and stuff. Because that's kind of the interesting thing I never thought of until we finally started getting closer to this mutant universe. Is there it was literally just Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and Hulk, and Black Widow, and that's it. That was like your heroes of the whole planet,
Right.
you know. And then you eventually had Spider Man, Vision, Winter Soldier, Black Panther. And it just kind of starts to grow to realize that eventually we'll get to a place where the whole world is going to be like 50-50 superhero or super powered and
Mhm.
normal people. So it definitely makes me wonder where the world will be like after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of what makes me wonder where Wonder Man will lie. 'Cause that's the tough thing. A lot of the times is these shows will take place before, like, let's say Secret Wars, or right after Secret Wars. So you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, what timeline are we going to be in when we catch back up with these
Yeah.
characters?
I I think it's just been so confusing with all this multiverse stuff that, I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of like the last Ant-Man movie. I was like, like that
Yeah.
it's I I'll go watch these movies and I'll be like, all right, cool, and always give them a fair shake. But I was just like, oh, like Ant-Man, that last Ant-Man movie, like if they had stayed stuck in whatever that universe was, like that's
Mhm.
what I thought was gonna happen, right?
Right.
And they're like, oh, we're stuck. And I said, oh, that's interesting.
Mhm.
That's interesting. And then they're like, Cassie's like, no, I can save you. And I was like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, that's kind of disappointing.
well,
Okay.
that's kind of the thing is I feel like Marvel as of late, and I, I have a major Marvel bias, by the way.
Hmm.
I think Marvel lately has just kind of failed to have really much in terms of repercussions and or
Yeah. Yeah.
much to lose. Like the
Right.
entire time I was getting ready to see Fantastic Four, all the trailers, kind of seemed very emotional, seemed very kind of like melancholy. So I was like, all right. At the end of the movie, Galactus is probably going to destroy their universe, and they had to run away
Right.
to another universe. Um, so that's what I thought was going to happen, and of course, the ending to Thunderbolts didn't help that feeling more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but then you get to the ending of Fantastic Four, and you're like, oh, they actually defeated Galactus. I was not expecting and or hoping for that. Not in a
Yeah.
morbid way,
Right.
but it's like I feel like that just would have made it more impactful. To have these characters who lost a planet go to another
Oh,
planet and
yeah.
and
I
realize,
agree.
you know, what happened to my planet can't happen to this planet.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
and I think the other thing that people aren't really talking about either, as much as they should, at least I've been thinking about, is with Daredevil season 2. Are they going to address the Void situation? Are they going to, bring up
Yeah.
this whole
Yeah.
like shame room situation with everybody?
Hmm.
So the thing I love so much about comics and Marvel in general is just how much is in New York or how much is in LA,
Hmm.
in terms of superheroes and team ups. So to kind of see, like, for instance, the new Spider-Man trailer, to have Punisher just showing up,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. That's exciting.
yeah, it's cool to see kind of like what you see in the comics, where it's like just a random character will pop up for like one shot and then just
Yeah.
leave. Now
Yeah.
is becoming something on film where it's like, holy crap, you guys actually like paid to have John Bernthal if for
Hmm.
this one scene. Or I don't know how long he's in the movie for. Hopefully more,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just to be like, hey, well, you guys wanted Spider-Man and Punisher to share the screen. Here they are.
Yeah.
Same with Daredevil in No Way Home. So it's so cool to see. All this time you spent like with Daredevil on Netflix to now pay off in the MCU. All this
Yeah.
time with hopefully Wonder Man to pay off later down the line. So
Hmm.
it's definitely exciting to get back into the MCU now. I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's just going to be very interesting to see what they do with Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like that just, it's so funny because one of my friends said, "Oh, Robert Downey Jr. was always the plan." I'm like, "I don't think so, man."
No. And
Like, I
see,
don't think so.
I think this is just maybe me being a little too hopeful. I think Robert Downey Jr. is of course going to be the Doom, but I don't think he's going to be the long lasting Doom in the universe.
That's what I think too.
Because
Like,
I
yeah. Yeah, cuz
it,
I mean, Doctor Doom is, I mean, he's freaking dope. Like, he's a
yeah,
cool villain, right?
he,
Like for him to be like, okay, bye, you only got two movies. So
yeah.
there was a rumor going around that maybe Killian Murphy was going to be cast before the Robert Downey Jr. stuff came up. And I said, yo, he would be sick as Doom. Like I was like, that would be such cool casting if they
So
get Killian Murphy.
my biggest Doom casting, and it's always been this character, even before he got cast in Doctor Strange, was uh probably gonna butcher his name. Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh my God, yes. I
So
love him.
yeah,
He's so good.
well
That's another name.
he
That's
has the
another good name.
he has the accent. He has the accent. He
Yeah.
has that kind of like demeanor of like a villain kind of demeanor. Very, but very soft spoken. Like a lot of
Mhm.
a lot of people whenever you see Doom, it's like, oh, Doom conquers all. But really, it's like Doom. He just doesn't give a shit. He's just like, yeah, I got this. Like what? You guys need my help? Okay. What do I need from you? He just has this very like kind of egotistical vibe, and I think that's also why you can't kill off Doom yet. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten into like internet arguments before, and it's just
Yeah.
like one of the reasons I was hoping they would continue the Kang series is just because I didn't want them to rush Doom. I feel
Yeah.
like you can't just put, Fantastic Four, show off Doom in the end credits, and then be like, oh, here's Doom, Doomsday. Oh,
Yeah.
here's Doom, Secret Wars. All right, Doom's dead. Let's move on. You know,
Yeah. Right. Right.
I just I think there has to be a long term plan for Doom.
Hmm.
So my hope is that eventually the multiverse series ends and we get stuck with the Prime Doom.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking that as well. So
Mhm. But
I hope that's what I hope. I hope too, because I'm just like Doom's a good villain, man. Like you can't just be like, okay, after Secret Wars, all right.
yeah, and I just don't think, yeah, it's exciting to have Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans back, but I just don't think we're gonna have Chris Evans Captain America back past Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think Hugh Jackman's gonna be Wolverine past Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Supposedly Tobey Maguire. I think Secret Wars is kind of like going to be the swan. Doomsday and Secret Wars is going to be the swan song to the original like Marvel stuff, like Fox Marvel
Yeah.
stuff,
Hmm.
whatever other studio Marvel stuff. And I think past Secret Wars is going to be like, all right, this is literally going to be the new meta. Like,
Yeah.
this is going to be your
Yeah.
new Captain America, whether it be Anthony Mackie or another character takes over. This will
Hmm.
be your new Black Panther, which supposedly they got a new Black Panther actor. So I think we're gonna go to a harder reset after that.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't think Marvel's gonna keep paying RDJ like billions just to show up as
Right.
Doom.
a hundred
Like,
million per
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's not happening, man. Yeah. No, I agree. So. I mean, fingers crossed that that's what pans out for Doom because I agree with you on that. Like Doom needs to not just be like, okay, he gets off and that's it. Like there
yeah.
needs to be like the underlying threat of Doom existing in this new MCU, like this new phase. So
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
I think they just also need to like really like commit to
Yep.
characters. Like
Yep.
it's a bummer because I believe it or not, I actually like She Hulk. I actually like Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I love She-Hulk. I love Miss Marvel.
Mhm,
Where is Shang-Chi too? You
right.
know, like, bruh, like the post credits for Shang-Chi were so good. Like,
Yep.
I was like, yo, let's go. Like, all right. And then they're like, we're never gonna talk about that again. All these post credit scenes, we're never gonna talk about that again. It's like when they introduced Hercules in like the end of Thor Love and Thunder. We're
Yeah.
never gonna talk about Roy Kent anymore. You know, like you're like, okay, I
I
guess
I
I
have
guess that's it.
I have some hope they'll do something with those characters.
Yeah.
Um, but I think at the same time, it's like, if you are gonna at least end that character's like time in the MCU, at least end it. Don't just kind of be like, oh, all right, She Hulk ended. Maybe we'll see her sometime, or we're just gonna pretend she never existed. It's like
Yeah, right.
I feel like you can't really do that, especially when it's like she's the Hulk's cousin. Like no one's gonna
Yeah.
ever like not bring that up. Like hey, where did
Yeah,
your
totally.
cousin go? Oh, I don't know. You
Yeah.
um, but I think that's also kind of the thing I understand from the fans, where it's like that kind of like, oh shit, I just watched all these movies. Now I have to watch the TV
Yeah,
shows.
right.
Now I have to catch up with the Netflix shows to watch this new show.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I get it. It feels like homework and it's a lot. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but I think these one shots they're doing is a good
Mhm.
um replacement for that. I think the one shot for Punisher is gonna be amazing. You know.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for that. Like it was so funny because I didn't see the initial like announcement. I just saw like the Daredevil one, and they're like, "Oh, and then it's followed up with Punisher like on May 21st." And I was like, "You're just gonna casually drop that here?" And then I saw that I was like, "Oh no, the algorithm gave it to me out of order." I'm like,
Yep.
"Okay, cool." like, I'm so excited, and it's just after watching Wonder Man, I was like, "This show is so good," and then I was just screaming at everybody, and my friends are like, "Dude, will you leave us alone? We're gonna watch the freaking show." And I was like, "It's so good." And then one of my friends is like, "Hey, I'm not into Marvel like that much, so like, do I need to do any homework?" I'm like, "No, that's the beauty of the show. The show is so good. You can just watch it and enjoy it." Like if you know about certain things with Marvel, it's kind of cool little nods, but you're
Yeah.
not gonna be lost in the show. Like you're not
Right.
gonna be lost with the story. So
Yeah, I think the best way to
yeah,
kind of summarize the show is think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with superpowers. That's really
yeah.
it.
I think that's a great way to put it, and I think that's a great way to end this podcast.
For
So
sure.
I super appreciate you having to do all this technical stuff to get
Oh,
us on the air.
not a problem at all.
But um,
Back to
but yeah.
cosplay. Doing cosplay fixing is what I'm going to get to after this. So,
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. WonderCon's coming up this
yep.
weekend, huh?
Talking about
So
Wonder Man, not going to WonderCon.
yeah. So on theme.
Yep.
So
Right.
again, thank you so much, Louie. I appreciate you coming on here and taking the time to talk with me, as well as doing all this technical,
Of
footwork to
course.
get us on the air. So, um, but yeah, we will definitely have to do this again for something else once I figure out this whole live
Spider
situation.
Spider Man's
Clearly, it's
next.
not going to be clearly it's not going to be IG anymore. I'm going to put on to YouTube because I was already looking into it and trying to figure it out. So uh,
Okay.
we will just move to my YouTube channel, and then that will promote my YouTube channel that I don't think I've updated for over a year now. So I
There
was like,
you
okay, I'll just do that.
go.
So
Perfect.
anyway, thanks again. I
Of
really
course.
appreciate it. And then thanks to everybody who watched and listened. And I will put this on my channel, The Lone Chipmunks, and then I will continue to do bite-sized reviews. I will still do a bite-sized review of Wonder Man because I still need to shout and scream about this show because this show is phenomenal. Even though I got a second season already, I'm still gonna scream about it. So anyway, thanks again, Louie.
Of
And
course.
yeah, we'll see you guys hopefully soon once we figure out all these technical glitches.
Oh
So,
yeah.
see
All
you
right,
next
guys.
time.
See ya.